All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Minnehaha County Commission meeting for January 23rd, 2024. I will call our meeting to order and note for the record that we have a full quorum of commission members present. Before we get started, just a friendly reminder, silence your cell phones, and avoid the embarrassment. And I'm going to ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, move into our routine business. Look for a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Benega, second by Blyenberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move into our consent agenda. As if there's anyone here from the public that would like to comment on the consent agenda, now is your time to do this. Consent agenda is just basically our routine business. Anybody from the public want to comment on it? All right. Are there any commission members that would like to remove any items from the consent agenda? Seeing nothing, I will look for a motion to approve our consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Kipley and Bender, all roll call vote, please.
Kipley.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Blyenberg.
Aye.
Benega.
Aye.
Karski.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on then to our regular business. We do take public comment on items during our regular business. If you plan on commenting today, either during the regular business or during public comment, we have a sign up in the back. We have to post who, for public record, who's commenting, so just encourage you to sign up so that we have that information. First item on our regular business, consider a motion to approve an amended resolution establishing the record of 2024 Minnehaha County designated polling places. Good morning, Auditor Anderson.
Good morning, Auditor Anderson, from Leah Anderson's my first name, but in accordance with SDCL 1214-1 and 1212-1, the Auditor's Office is requesting approval of an amended 2024 polling place resolution. I'm sorry. On January 2nd of 24, you approved Resolution 24-04, which established the record of the 2024 designated polling places. One of the locations, Calvary Chapel, was sold on January 9th to De Dios es el Poder Ministerio de Restauración. Due to unclear statutory guidance on the procedure of the name change, I consulted with the state's attorney and we created an amended resolution. Pastor Saul is the new owner of that church, and he and Jeremy from the city and myself met on January 12th. Pastor Saul is looking forward to partnering with the county and the city as being a polling place.
So same place, new name.
Same place, new name.
All righty. Anybody from the public want to comment on this? Questions from the Commission of the Auditor? Look for a motion.
Move for approval.
Second?
Motion by Benega, second by Blyenberg. Call the roll.
Benega.
Aye.
Blyenberg.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Kipley.
Aye.
Karski.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Next item, consider abatement applications recommended for denial on parcel 76559 for the years 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. Good morning, Director Lilla.
Good morning, Chris Lilly, Equalization Office. Before you is an abatement request that we are recommending for denial. Unfortunately, the individual, the surviving spouse, her first husband, was the disabled veteran who passed away some number of years ago before there was ever an exemption program. In the interim, she'd come in and filled out the abatement request and the application moving forward. Through our discovery, we discovered that she is remarried since then, and unfortunately her second husband has also passed away. But due to the first passing husband and the remarrying, it violates the law, and she is not applicable for that, and we didn't discover that until after the applications were made. So unfortunately, surviving spouse retains the exemption until such time as the property ownership is transferred. Surviving spouse does not occupy the dwelling, or the surviving spouse remarries, and in this case, that remarrying voided her ability to qualify for the surviving spouse veteran exemption. So unfortunately, we do have to recommend it for denial, so we're asking the commission for that.
All right, questions from the director? Commissioner Bender?
I just have one question. So she remarried prior to prior to 2020, the first year she's asking for an abatement?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Public comment? All right, commission for action or motion? Discussion?
I'd make a motion to approve. Second?
Motion by Bender, second by Blindberg to approve the denial. So yes means no. Call the roll.
Bender,
Aye.
Blindberg,
Aye.
Benega,
Aye.
Kipley,
Aye.
Karski.
Aye, motion carries. Authorize the chairperson to sign amendment number 1 to the agreement with the SRF Consulting Group, Inc. for design of project MC 2307, SRF Bridge Investment Program application. Mr. Groen, what's SRF?
It's Stigar Rostov Fausch out of the Twin Cities. It's a consulting engineering firm.
Okay.
Steve Groen, Highway Superintendent. Last February, the commission authorized us to sign an agreement with SRF to start a federal bridge investment program application. The notice of funding opportunity did not drop until just in December, so we're a little behind our anticipated schedule. We noticed that the contract with SRF was to expire on February 29th, so we're seeking your permission to extend the contract out till the end of this year at no additional cost to the county.
All right, questions of Steve? Public comment? All right, move it to the commission for discussion or action.
I'd make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Authorize chairperson to sign resolution authorizing submission of 2023-2024 Bridge Investment Program, the BIP grant application. Mr. Groen, that's different than the big grant, right?
Yes, it is. This is a federal program as part of the infrastructure law that was the bipartisan infrastructure law that was passed by Congress a few years ago. This is the Bridge Investment Program. This is a 80-20 federal funding. There was a typo on our agenda item. It had said state awarded the cost share with the state as 80% federal is actually the cost share with the Federal Highway Administration. We are looking to do this application in March. If we're successful, Minnehaha County will get about $3 million of direct federal aid to replace 3 structures we've identified on Highway 104 east of Del Rapids. We started the process of asking local entities for letters of support. I've reached out to our congressional delegation, the City of Del Rapids, the Sioux Metro Growth Alliance, and others for their support as well. We're just looking for your permission to continue on the grant application.
Thank you, Steve. Questions from the commission for Mr. Groen? All right, public comment. All right, turn to commission for discussion or action.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll.
Bender,
Aye.
Benega,
Aye.
Kipley,
Aye.
Blindberg,
Aye.
Karski.
Aye, motion carries. Consider a motion to authorize the Highway Department to advertise for the replacement of bridge structure 5144020. Mr. Groen.
Once again, Steve Groen, Highway Superintendent. This is a bridge on Highway 104, about 4 miles west of the Del Rapids exit. We've been watching this bridge for several years. A year ago, we submitted for South Dakota DOT Bridge Improvement Grant funding to replace this, and we were unsuccessful. The bridge continues to deteriorate. We have closed the books on our 2023 fiscal year, and we are doing even better than it showed in the briefing memo, it looks like we're gonna be somewhere closer to $3 million higher than budgeted for the highway fund. Our bridge engineer has recommended that we replace this structure as soon as practical. CHS has a large agricultural terminal to the west of here, and they send several 40 trucks a day during peak seasons through this route. If this bridge was to be posted, which more than likely would happen this summer, it'd create about an 8-mile detour for the CHS, plus all the other traffic that goes through this road. This road does carry about 1,150 cars a day. So right now, the bidding environment has been very favorable for structural work right now, so we'd like to advertise this. And if the pricing comes in as anticipated, we would come back to the commission to do a supplement to our 2024 budget to add this project.
All right, questions of Steve? I guess I have one, Steve. So doesn't require any pre-engineering, we can go straight to bid with this? What's the process?
Chair Karski, we had this project at final design a year ago for submittal to the big program to get 10 extra points. So it is already fully designed, and we've had an updated engineering estimate from SCH, who's our consulting firm, and we should be able to have this ready for bidding within the week.
Do you want to talk about why we're not going through the big process, the state process?
We had some disagreements with the bridge office on the best methods to construct this bridge. We were given advice by the local government aid office that unfortunately did not jive with which the bridge office was going to approve.
So it's cheaper to do it our way.
Cheaper to do it our way, and if we had to do a redesign and applied for preliminary engineering funding from the state, it would push this project back about 4 years.
Ouch. Okay. All right. Anybody from the public want to comment on this? All right. I'll move it over to the commission for discussion or action.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes,
would
sir.
just comment that I'd applaud the highway superintendent that it's the exception rather than the rule that we're paying full freight for a project. I've been very successful with big grants and other opportunities that leverage other sources of funding, but I also follow his logic that we've got the money there, and it would be a disservice to the county to not use it in circumstances like these. I also would agree that we might have more favorable bidding environment now. So obviously with the caveat that we've got to come back and review those bids before we'd proceed with the project, I'm comfortable moving forward with this outside of our what has been kind of the norm in my experience of seeking matching grant funds. So, but I just appreciate the superintendent's candor and explaining this project and why the county will end up paying 100% of the cost on this one. So,
Mr. Chair, I do not like paying full price, but sometimes you need to do that.
See how the bids come in. All right. Any
So-
other comments? Motion.
I guess with that, I'd make a motion to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Moving on then, a presentation on Southeastern Council of Government Programs. Ms. Lynn Keller-Forbes. Good morning.
Morning. How are you today? All right. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you on an annual basis to kind of give you an update on some of the things we've got going on at CCOG. I have with me today some of my very talented staff, Sophie Johnson, Eric Barnes, and we have an intern with us today, Madeline Graham. So trying to teach her the ropes and get her ingrained in some of the good stuff that goes on under the planning department. So CCOG is one of 6 planning and development districts. We operate in these 6 counties. We've been around since 1972. We operate under a joint cooperative agreement, and you are a signer to that agreement with all 6 of our counties, plus our first-class municipalities. In all total, if you look at our 6 counties, there are 6 counties and 40 municipalities that range anywhere from Sherman being our smallest all the way up to the city of Sioux Falls. So as a council of governments, it is voluntary to be a member of our organization, and I'm happy to say that everyone that is able to do so is a member of our organization as well. In 2023, we took in $3.2 million Membership accounts for about 11% of our budget. A majority of our budget comes from managing the Southeastern Development Foundation and Dakota Business Finance, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. As a breakdown of how those dues come in, a majority of them come from the first-class municipalities, followed by our counties, and then last but not least, our second and third-class municipalities. I would say that a majority of our services are probably used by the smaller communities because they just don't have the planning staff that you have as well. Whoa. Not sure how I got rid of that. Did I hit something on the side?
No, I'm not really sure.
Just blessed by not being that technology. Not sure. All right, we'll keep going, see what we got here. Maybe we don't have the whole thing on here. All right, for dues, we took in of the 348,000 as well. So this is sort of Sophie's team. When communities apply for, or are members of our organization, she will work with them and her team will work with them to help secure grants and loans for water, wastewater, storm sewer, streets, community facilities, those kinds of things. And we've been blessed by COVID, as you have, and 2023 was no different than that. Her team has helped secure over $130 million in grants and loans for our region. And we always try to look at kind of where do those break down as well. So if you looked at it overall with the 348, it is a return on investment for every dollar invested at $373.17. So we do try to break that down. What's that mean to you? For the communities in county, we helped secure $44 million in 2023 in grants and loans. And if you compare that to what was paid in Minnehaha County, and we do include Sioux Falls in Minnehaha County versus Lincoln County, the ROI on that would be $1,667 as well. We also work with cities and counties on land use regulations. They have to have a comprehensive plan in order to have zoning. We'll help our communities do those zoning, municipal, and subdivision ordinances as well. Many of you have had the opportunity to serve on the UDC. We serve as a coordinating entity for the Metropolitan Planning Organization. If you're a community of 50,000 or more, you're required to have a planning MPO like this as well in order to get the $1 million. So what does that look like? We actually contract with the Department of Transportation, who takes the funds from federal highway. So everything flows through our books. In total in 2023 was 1.3 million, and of that amount, 49,000 came through to your planning department primarily. We also run the Southeastern Development Foundation. It was created in 2002 with the intent of running a regional revolving loan fund. We have amassed enough funds through the last 20-some years that we're now over 25 million in assets. So we're kind of running our own small bank there as well. Through the years, we've done over $50 million in loans and leveraged another $276 million as well. And these counties mirror the CCOG counties as well. We did 22 loans. We've kind of switched over now to Eric and his team, which works on the lending. We had 22 loans in 2023 for the Southeastern Development Foundation. 15 of those were in Minnehaha County for $3.4 million. Just to give you a sense of a couple of loans we did, Cressman Sanitation was one of them, and then we did an SCDF loan on Impact Sports. We also did an SBA 504 loan on this as well. This was a fun project to do. This is Garza Insurance. He works primarily with the Hispanic community on insurance, and it went in the old builder's millwork over there, and we did an SCDF and a 504 on that as well. We also do affordable housing. I can kind of thank you guys for getting us into this game. When Bob Litz was the auditor, he, through you guys, gave us our first 4 lots that got us started on doing governor's houses. And I just entered into a contract, and when I sell I've got 3 more houses under contract. When I sell the 3rd one, I've hit 100 houses that we've done through the years. So that'll be kind of fun. If you're familiar with the Governor's House program, this was created by Governor Janklow. They're built in Springfield by prisoners, so a couple of different things. It's affordable housing, but also trying to get inmates some job skills so when they get out, they can get jobs in the construction industry as well. So we do sell those in 11 counties, but we also develop them as well. We buy about 10 of these a year and put them on various lots. For the first time last year, we actually did 3 in Beersford and 2 in Salem. It's the first time we've ever left Sioux Falls. Great for those communities. It is a challenge, though, when you're trying to get your crew down to some of those communities. We have our own general construction crew. I have 6 guys that work for me, and then we do sub out most of the electrical, all those kinds of things as well. So if you buy a Governor's House, you pretty much get the house, furnace, water heater, cabinets, all those kinds of things, and they will deliver it. But you have to find a lot, do the building permit, put in the foundation, utility, all those kinds of things as well. So for the ones we bought last year, we listed them at $220,250. So these would be 1,200 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a garage. So really affordable per square price. We have to sell it to somebody that's 80% median household income or less. You see the asterisk here because that means that we also got some financing through South Dakota Housing last year through the Housing Opportunity Fund. So there's a second mortgage on that house of $15,000 that gets forgiven over 5 years as long as they live in the house. So at the end of 5 years, it would convert to a grant. So approximately $207 is what last year they would have had to borrow in order to buy the house. And these are just some pictures of what they look like on the inside. And there's the exterior of one we did last year at 709. We didn't do very many in Sioux Falls last year. We had trouble getting houses, and then we did a lot of them outside. We also do what's called recycled homes, where you pick up a house and that somebody either doesn't want. We get them from the city of Sioux Falls. We've gotten them from Sanford. We've gotten them from the school district, all of those kinds of things. This was actually donated by a private couple over in Valley Springs. We bought a lot in Renner, and we picked it up and moved it over there. This is actually under contract now. Contingent on somebody selling their house. This is another one that we moved from North Minnesota just down the street to a lot that was a vacant, kind of burned out house. I just put this, I'm putting this under a lease purchase today with a family that it's a Hispanic family, and they have an ITIN number instead of Social Security, so there's some challenges in how do you get them qualified for a mortgage, and so we're gonna do a lease purchase while we try to work through that situation as well. And then we have also, this is a project that we did with the city of Sioux Falls. We bought this house on Wayland. We actually bought 5 houses kind of in this area. It's kind of rocked the block. And we tore this house down. You can see the interior pictures. There was actually people living in it, and it was awful. We moved this house that they had in a flood zone, and then we renovated it. And this house is sale pending, and it was sold to somebody with less than 80% median household income as well. And then these are a couple of other ones that we've moved as well. This is a City of Sioux Falls house. This is an Augustana house, and this was a City of Sioux Falls house as well. And then we also sometimes just buy kind of ugly houses and fix them up. Again, these are houses on Wayland, so if you went over there, this is one that we bought that we fixed up and sold, and then this is another one we bought that we fixed up and sold as well. So there'll be 5 new houses over there by the time we're all said and done. If you look overall, the sales that we've done in the years, 2023 was a challenge. You can see we did 18 the year before. We only did 12 in 2023. Interest rates, especially if you're dealing with low-income people, are really tough. But overall, we've done about 16 million in sales. If you take that times 2%, the estimated impact is $300 and some thousand. And of course, taxes help make the world go around. So I thought you might be interested in that. We're going to switch back over to Dakota Business Finance. Again, this would be what Eric's team works on. Been around since 2006. We provide all the staffing for it as well. When you think of 504s, think of land, building, long-term equipment, leasehold improvements, all of those kinds of things. A little bit different footprint. All of South Dakota, we added all of Iowa in 2020 and all of Minnesota in 2023. So we've got a lot more stuff going on there. If you look at this, 50% of the financing is typically provided by the bank. Yeah, SBA will issue bonds to do 40% and subordinate under the bank, which gives them great loan to value, and then the borrower has to come up with 10% down as well. In South Dakota, there were 63 504 loans done in federal fiscal year 2023, and Dakota Business Finance was responsible for 25 of those. And if you look at total loans through the years, this just kind of gives you a sense of some of the stuff we've done through the years as well. You can really tell when COVID hit, and there were some incentives here as well. This again breaks it down by volume and shows you where we were there. Overall, as an organization, we did 33 loans, so 25 in South Dakota, 38 million outside total, and then 27 million of that was in South Dakota as well. And jobs created or retained were 369. We have been the #1 CDC since 2009. So here's a picture of our team getting the trophy from SBA Assistant Director Bryson Patterson. Here's a couple of the projects we've done. Storage units, we did some last year. The hotels. This was for leasehold improvements. It's Flourish Birthing Center. And then Shear was kind of new construction as well. And This we did equipment for preform solutions, which is a really interesting project. If you've never seen this, it's we can get you in for a tour. It's a really, really good, kind of one of those hidden projects here in Sioux Falls. So we own this building. We did some remodeling last year, so we'd love to have you stop by. We're happy to give you a tour, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have for me.
Good job, Lynn. Questions?
Mr. Chair, I guess
Mr.
just
Kipley?
kind of the open-ended question of what do you see as the biggest challenge for the communities around the periphery of Sioux Falls with the growth? I mean, it's a good problem to have, the economic growth, but what do you see as the number one or number two challenge for those small governments in those communities?
Infrastructure is always a challenge. It's one of those things that, you know, you could end up with a really expensive water or sewer bill. I think some of our smaller communities are probably facing that as they try to upgrade some of their systems as well. Somebody's got to pay for it. The good news is that if you have water or wastewater, you can at least put on a surcharge. It's an enterprise fund, so they can at least pay for that. They struggle a lot with roads because how do you pay for that? There's no mechanism really to pay for it. So I would say that's probably one of the bigger challenges from that regard. They all struggle with housing. You know, people used to live in small towns because you would typically think that the housing costs were lower there, and they probably were in the old days, but new construction's the same no matter where you put it, and sometimes it's even more. So they all struggle with housing as well. Sophie and her team has done some good work on that, on the housing that was recently passed by the legislature, and we've been able to secure some funds and done some things with those as well. At the Southeastern Development Foundation was a recipient of that as well. We bought 26 acres at the corner of La Mesa and Madison last year, and we are going to subdivide that into 55 lots. And then we've got about 10 acres that we're trying to sell off as multifamily over there as well. But we were able to secure for the infrastructure piece of it about $750,000 in grant from that, and then another 400 and some thousand to help pay for the land over there as well. So we're hoping to maybe this fall or so that we'll start putting in some lots, if not early next year as well.
And then, Mr. Chair, just one more general comment. As we look ahead this year, working a lot with Scott Anderson in our planning and zoning on a new comprehensive plan, and trying to get other stakeholders to the table to feel like we're not just building that comprehensive plan in a vacuum, but all your other member organizations, we'd welcome their input, and we'd be happy to coordinate with you sometime over 2024 to see how we get input, because just we have a wide diversity of sizes of communities that have different values and different perspectives on growth. So how do we plan that with a 30-year, 40-year outlook? And I'm sure your office has some experience doing that with some of the smaller communities.
So Sean Heggie would be the person in Minnehaha County that does that. You probably are familiar with him from the UDC. And so if you work through either him or Sophie, we'd be happy to try to convene some of those stakeholders and get them involved with your process as well, and or be involved ourselves if you'd like us to be too.
Yes, appreciate that, Lynn.
Your staff's watching to see what you're promising over there,
Sure.
so.
Giving away the farm.
I have a question. So individuals that want to purchase one of these governor homes, that type of thing, do you work directly with them, or are they referred to you through a lender or a realtor? What's the process?
Sure. The first thing that we like them to do is to come in, because we do sell the governor's house on behalf of the South Dakota Housing. So a lot of times we like them to start with us. Right now, if you were to go to, I think there's a 30-month wait. It used to be 36 if you ordered a governor's house on your own. But we have kind of been thinking proactively, and so we have some in the hopper. So if they came to us and said, hey, we want to get qualified, we work with them first to see if they're qualified, and then we'd see if they, we kind of keep a list. So as ours come in, we would work with them there. I prefer to get them before they get a realtor involved, because that's just less money they have to pay. I do have my broker's license, so I do list a lot of these homes myself, which does save on the 3% on our side, because I don't take a commission. But any time that we can save them the 3%, a lot of times if they come to me without a realtor, I'll just give that back to them as a seller prepaid or something. But the short answer is, if they start with my staff, we can see first if they're qualified. And then if they need lenders, there are lenders that are really good at understanding the program and the different layers of things that we have. And so we can refer them out to people that we're used to working with that I think will do a really nice job for them.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Okay, this is a briefing, so thank you. It's an annual thing, and you crammed a lot into 11 minutes. I appreciate that. We do take public comment. If anybody from the public would like to comment on the county's relationship with the Southeast Council of Government. All right, moving on then. Thank you. Consider a motion to authorize Human Services to increase the maximum rent and utility assistance guidelines. Lori Mont is kind of a carryover from last week. We're just making sure we all understood what we had, so good morning.
Good morning, Lori Montes, Human Services. We'll try this again this week and hopefully it'll go a little bit better. So here again to ask about your approval for 2 proposed increases in our emergency relief program. One of those is rent and one of those is in utility allowances. So if you look at our rent amounts, up on the screen there, it shows that the last time we increased the rent allowance was in 2018. At that time, we increased the allowance for the 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units by $100. Since 2018, we know there have been big increases in rent amounts and also in fair market rent. So the next information there just shows how much fair market rents have increased since 2018. And it varies from an efficiency has gone from $535 to $710, so an increase of $175. Where like a 4-bedroom unit has gone from $1,217 to $1,616, which is a $399 increase in that period of time. So knowing this and the assistance that we provide to those that we're either trying to get housed or that we are hoping to keep housed, we definitely leverage the applicant's earnings and any other community resources. We work very closely with other organizations that help with rent, like Interlakes Community Action, Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul, Community Outreach would be the other one. Those 4 are kind of primary partners for rent assistance. So we know that we close a fair number of our rent requests. We approve just over 30% typically on average each year of the request, but we close about 21% of those, or we did in 2022, for reasons that the applicant couldn't pull together what was needed to move into that housing. So hopefully, if we would increase our maximum allowance, we'd be able to assist people a little bit better. So the proposal for the rent increase, as you can see, is going from an efficiency that we currently help with $350 to $500, for a 1-bedroom to go from $500 to $700, a 2-bedroom from $700 to $900, a 3-bedroom from $800 to $1,000, and then a 4-bedroom from $900 to $1,200 as a proposed maximum assistance. Of course, the question is always, what's that going to cost? And so our best numbers that we could pull together, we looked at 2018 following that increase of $100 basically. For the larger units, it came up to $132,500. With looking at basically a $200 maximum increase across the bedroom sizes, we would anticipate an increase of about 22%, which at our current funding level would amount to $209,000. That amount is currently in our 2024 budget, and so we wouldn't anticipate needing any additional funds for covering that increase. Any questions on the rent piece?
Seeing none, you can move on.
Okay, so the second part of that is utilities. And so the last utility increase was in 2009, so it has been quite some time. At that time, we went from $400 to $420 for maximum annual assistance. When we looked at numbers, again, we had a little bit of trouble pulling together numbers. The past 3 years, we've had ARPA funds, we've had One Sioux Falls funds, we've had South Dakota Cares funds, so we've been able to, thankfully, not spend as much of our county budget with all of that other assistance available. But the best numbers we could pull together were the average utility voucher for 2022 was $486.85. That's looking at South Dakota Cares numbers as well as county numbers. So we're proposing to increase from $420 a year to $500 per year. Again, utility costs have increased substantially, whether you're looking at Excel, Mid-American, the city of Sioux Falls, they've all kind of advertised or shared what their increases have been for 2024, and then the couple years going forward, anticipating even greater increases. So what we're hoping is that this anticipated budget impact would be about $18,160 at a worst-case scenario, and that would be if everyone in, again, about the 36% were approved for utility assistance. If they all had gotten the maximum of 500 versus 420, it would come up to that $18,160. So we wouldn't anticipate a huge increase based on that $80 maximum annually at this point. Any questions on utilities that I can answer?
No.
Okay, any questions?
Any questions in general? Commissioner Bender?
So just as a clarification, and I know you clarified this last week, but when these amounts are provided to individuals in need, they have an obligation to repay that, correct?
Correct. The bulk of human services assistance is lienable assistance, and so for the bulk of things and things like rent and utilities, there is a lien placed against that person and their property.
And the person is notified of that at the time that the assistance is provided?
Right, at the time of providing assistance, the caseworkers go through all of their rights, as well as that this is a lien, and they set up a repayment agreement with them at that time.
Okay, thank you.
No others? If I may, we're not, last week, my confusion was on the federal poverty level, I think. We're not adjusting our qualification based on federal poverty level guidelines, anything like that, are we?
Correct, we're leaving that at 100% federal poverty level at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, not seeing any other questions from the commission. I'll open it up for public comment. All right, no public comment, close that, and move on to commission action or discussion.
I would make a motion to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Laurie.
Awesome, thank you so much.
All right, moving on then. We're going to have three separate items to vote on item 15. The first is declare the following items as surplus, the first being a 1999 Lumina. I'm sure there's a lot of value in that one.
Good morning, Commission. Mark Krins, Facilities Department. Yeah, so I have multiple items in front of you today. First one's the car. It's a 1999. It needs significant repairs. It's pretty well past its useful life. So I'm requesting that Commission approval to authorize that surplus for public auction.
All right, questions for Mark? Public comment? Commission action?
I'll move to declare it surplus.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll.
Kipley.
Aye.
Benega.
Aye.
Blindberg.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Karski.
Aye. Motion carries. Next one, county jail laundry equipment, 4 commercial dryers, 1 commercial washer, and 3 washing machines. What's the story?
Yep, correct. So when the new jail or the jail expansion was constructed, a new jail laundry room and equipment was part of the project. This equipment is old. The utilities that provide the new equipment don't line up with these, so I'm also requesting Commission authorize for surplus this laundry equipment for public auction.
Questions of Mark? Who are you using for our auction service?
The highway department, so their Purple Wave or Big Iron, whatever they recommend is what I'll use.
All righty. Public comment? Seeing none, commission action.
Move approval to surplus.
Approval in a second. Call the roll.
Blindberg.
Aye.
Kipley.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Benega.
Aye.
Karski.
Aye, motion carries. And then for disposal, laminate tabletops in the highway facility training room.
Yeah, so when the new highway facility was constructed, new training room furniture was purchased. When these tops were installed, it was found that the surfaces were so coarse you could barely write on it with a piece of paper. So I contacted Canfields. They recommended a different solution as a smoother top surface. We purchased those 32 tops, kept the bases, and Canfields did dispose of the tops, and they did offer a $1,000 credit towards those tops. So I'm requesting those tops authorization for disposal.
All right, questions for Mark? Public comment? Commission action?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second, roll call vote.
Benega.
Aye.
Kipley.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Blindberg.
Aye.
Karski.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on, authorize the Facilities Department to purchase a 2024 1500 Silverado pickup from Billion Chevrolet.
Mark Krenzigan, Facilities Department. So the funds were approved in the fiscal year 2024 budget process for the Facilities Department to purchase a new pickup to replace the 99 Lumina, as I previously mentioned. Billion Fleet of Sioux Falls currently has a pickup available, follows county purchasing policy, and they have agreed to match the Minnesota state bid contract pricing. The price for this pickup is $44,768.44. Are there any questions?
Seeing none, turn it over for public comment. Seeing none, bring it back to the commission for action.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Consider a motion to approve the withdrawal of a medical cannabis application. We'll give Kim a minute to get to the podium.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kim Christensen with the Auditor's Office. The Auditor's Office has received a letter from Shangri-La, South Dakota LLC's General Counsel requesting withdrawal of their medical cannabis license application, as well as a refund of $25,000 for the application fee. Pursuant to Minnehaha County Ordinance MC 60-21, Section 4A, the application fee is not refundable. However, pursuant to the same ordinance, Section 4 subdivision fee, the initial license fee is refundable if the application is denied by the state or county. In accordance with Minnehaha County Resolution 2155, the application fee was set at $5,000 and the initial license fee is $1,000. At your last meeting on January 16th, 2024, the Commission voted to continue the public hearing regarding the issuance of the license until the first meeting in March to allow for the applicant to apply for a conditional use permit, since the current conditional use permit is set to expire on the end of February of this year. If the board does accept this withdrawal, this will eliminate the need for the continued public hearing, and the initial license fee will be refunded to the applicant in the amount of $100,000. A representative from the state's attorney's office is available for questions.
Questions for Kim or the legal process? Commissioner Bender?
Is there anyone here from the applicant?
I haven't seen anybody.
Mr. Chair, I guess I had a clarifying question on just assuming we accept this withdrawal. I just kind of want to know the state of the game. You know, where are we at if someone came to us 6 months from now and wanted to proceed with this? Do we start the process all over? Do we have to do a new lottery? This is just kind of an odd situation where we're in, and just kind of some explanation of where we are, assuming we accept this withdrawal and this moots out.
Mr. Chair, would you prefer I go to the podium or answer from
right here is fine.
Okay. Eric Bogue, State's Attorney's Office. Commissioner Kipley, that's a great question. But pursuant to our current ordinance, as soon as the license becomes available, or we deem it to become available, which a withdrawal of the application would do, the auditor's office would need to be instructed to start the process of reissuing. So that would advertise the fact that it's available, and then there would be, if there are multiple applications, that random draw that we went through last time, we did not go through this time because there was only one application. Did I answer all the questions, or? Okay.
So is there like a 60-day window? I mean, what if we get nobody? Does it just stay open until somebody does apply?
Mr. Chair, again, Eric Bogue, State's Attorney's Office. I don't think that's likely to happen, but I think if in the past we have had a window of application opportunity, if we reached the conclusion of that window and no one had applied, we would have a presentation, I think, from the auditor's office informing us of that, and we would re-advertise and hopefully get one. As long as we're consistent under state law and our own ordinance, making an effort to issue the license or make sure that the public is aware it's available for issuance, I think we're in compliance with both state law and our own ordinance at that point.
Thank you. Commissioner Bender.
So just a couple things. One, it's my understanding, and I guess I'd like the state's attorney to clarify, that because of the timing of all this, it was very confusing as to the representations that were made to the commission at our last public meeting, and then this receipt of this letter via fax. And so I want to make sure that we have publicly on the record that we notified the parties that we would be having this on our agenda today, and that they had an opportunity to communicate with the state's attorney, at least to acknowledge that they knew that we would be discussing this today.
Mr. Chair, Eric Bogue from the State's Attorney's Office, and perhaps Auditor Anderson, would you prefer to answer that? Okay.
Good morning, Leah Anderson, Auditor's Office. Yes, so we went through several processes, and Eric can help me clarify this probably, but via email, telephone calls, and we had the sheriff serve a final letter to the person on record for the LLC. I forget the what? Registered agent, yes. Okay. So we served them with notification about this meeting and that we had received that letter.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then just as a point of clarification, when Kim was discussing about how the license fee goes back, we talked about it being that they got it back if it was denied by the county or the state, but it's also, they have the opportunity to get it refunded now because they're withdrawing it. So there really is technically at that point no application.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Right, since this is it's not a public hearing anymore, but we'll take public comment on this. Anybody want to address the commission? All right, moving on then. Look for a motion to approve the withdrawal.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Benega, second by Kipley. Call the roll.
Benega?
Aye.
Kipley?
Aye.
Bender?
Aye.
Blindberg?
Aye.
Karski?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. We're moving on to consider a petition for compromise of lien DPNO 45633. Good morning, Melinda.
Good morning, Melinda Storley, Commission Office. The action requested today is to consider a request to compromise lien DPNO 45633 in full with payment of $553.60, 50% of the current lien balance of $1,107.20. The petitioner came before the Board of Commissioners last Tuesday, January 16th, but her request to have her lien compromised in full with no payment was denied. She was encouraged to make payments of $25 a month over the next year and was advised that the board may consider her petition again if her request included payment of the lien of 50% of the lien balance. Therefore, she returns today to make her request again and is prepared to make payment of $553.60. The lien represents rental assistance and legal counsel fees. Her application and financial documents remain unchanged. The application lists assets totaling $200 and $60,100 in liabilities. The financial information provided included a 2022 W-2 for employer one showing $9,855.48 in wages, a September 2023 pay stub from employer two showing net pay of $2,790.64 for the month with a year-to-date total of $24,315.19 and a December 2023 statement for employer 3 for an adjustment pay of $1,250. She's asking the board if they would reconsider her petition for compromise of lien and states that she would like to satisfy the lien so she can purchase a home in the future for her daughter and her grandchildren. There is no real estate transaction at this time, and she is here to address the board again.
Thank you, Melinda. Questions for Melinda? Okay. At this point, the petitioner is free to address the commission. You don't have to identify yourself. You don't have to come to the podium. If you would like to address us, that would be fine. If not, that is acceptable also. We have your application. You've complied with everything we've asked, so if you do not have to address us if you don't want to. We can just take action
I
on
was
this.
gonna say, you have all my other information up there, so I don't know if it even matters if I say my name or anything, but I have $500 in cash, and that's what I brought, and so I'm asking if the rest can be compromised or whatever you call it, and that I can just be done with it.
Okay, thank you. All right, commission.
I just want to clarify. So the request is to compromise the lien for a payment of $500, not for a payment of $553.60. Did
That's
I
her
understand
offer
that
today.
correctly?
That is her offer today.
Okay, thank you.
I would make a motion to accept the $500 for full payment and move on.
I'd make a second, and with just a comment.
Please.
I will go ahead and take this today. We appreciate you coming back 2 weeks in a row. We appreciate the payment. You know, part of our hesitation is that, you know, you're not the only person that asks for these, and we need to be consistent with everybody, and that's why if you'd represented that you were going to bring in the full 50%, to not do that is disappointing. But in order to move on, I will second the motion and vote in favor of it.
Other comments? I guess my only one is I believe I heard a number this last week that liens such as this total like 160 or 140 million dollars, I think was the number I heard. So that people over the last several decades owe the county. So, I mean, I also appreciate the offer, and coming in with the 500 is acceptable to me. So I will also be in favor of this, but it's not something, people pay their taxes and fees and licensing regularly, and a very small portion get in a situation where they need help. We're willing to help them. It's not free help, and that's why we have these liens. So it's the way the process works. So your willingness to pay for some of it is appreciated. I'm going to call the roll, please.
Benega?
Aye.
Bender?
Aye.
Lionberg?
Aye.
Kipley?
Aye.
Karski?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tyler, legislative update.
Good morning, Tyler Platt, Commission Office. Thank you. So I just want to point out a couple of notable bills that the Commission Office has been following, one being HB 1057, the other 1039. 1057 would create the Indigent Legal Defense Office, which would handle appeals for criminal, habeas corpus, and child abuse and neglect cases. That one was referred to to Joint Appropriations with a due pass recommendation. And also 1039, which would reimburse the defense costs for offenses that are committed in a DOC facility, primarily for us, the state penitentiary. That one was heard on January 18th, and action was deferred as they gather more information. I do want to thank Carl Thomas from UJS, Tracy Smith, and Julie Hofer in our PDO and public advocate offices. They pulled together a lot of really good information that we've been able to share with our lobbyists as to how much money that actually looks like for Minnehaha County. In terms of an overall update, the one thing I would note is bills are moving a lot quicker than normal. We've got a lot of primarily bills that started in the Senate have already crossed over to the House. One thing I'll point out also is in my update, anything in red is an accepted amendment to the previously reported bill. Nothing of substantial note to point out from that. And two other items that are not on this report that have dropped since this was published. Senate Joint Resolution 505 would limit the assessed value increase annually to a 1% or less. And that would be voted on by the general election if that was approved by both bodies. And second is Senate Bill 112, which it's relatively minor in the grand scheme, but adds a new non-resident title fee for anyone applying for a title. This would be in addition to the existing title fee, and that really just boils down to an additional $50 for the county for each one of those titles. If there are any questions on specific bills, I can certainly try to answer those, but that's what I have as far as an update today.
I guess I have one question, Tyler. There were two, I left my notes at my desk, on the Veteran Service Officer, two kind of competing bills. Did one, I don't see the other one here anymore. I see House Bill 1007, but there was another one that basically, it was at odds with that one in my mind.
I'm not recalling an additional one. I'll double check though and let you know.
Okay.
But 107 or 1007, I believe, is also crossed over and would be, I think, generally favorable for the county.
Yeah, no, I like the way 1007 is written. I wasn't a big fan of the other one, but yeah. Okay. Any other questions for Tyler? All righty. Thank you, sir. Any public comment on our legislative update?
I wasn't planning on this one, but just came to my information this morning that there's another bill, SB 48, that has to do with the cast vote records and ballot images. It's very important. I will be heading to Pierre this afternoon later to testify on that bill. But it would make cast vote records and public or ballot images public record, and it would require a change with our ES&S, the way that we tabulate.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yep.
Gary Meyer. I too was not planning on a legislative update, but there's a bill being proposed in Pierre by the Summit Carbon Solutions, and probably other CO2 pipelines to throw out all city, county, and township ordinances. If this is something that you don't want to lose control of, you should probably contact your legislators. And if you want more information on that bill, please let me know. I will tell you.
All righty.
Good morning, Rian Ullum. I just want to let you guys know I wake up literally every day worried about election integrity in our country. And listening today to the SECOG, it was phenomenal. Learned a lot, interesting. They were given quite a bit of time. I would like to ask you all, what would it take to get South Dakota canvassing on your agenda? I think there is a lot that they have learned and that they could uncover. And I'm wondering why you are not willing to let them do a presentation. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments from the commission? All right, we'll move on then from our legislative update to opportunity for public comment. We do limit the total time to 30 minutes. Each speaker has 5 minutes. So anybody here for public comment? All righty. Move on then to commission liaison reports.
Chairman?
Commissioner Blyenberg.
Commissioner Bender and I had the opportunity to attend the Safety and Justice Challenge implementation team meeting last week, and just heard updates from several of the organizations involved, including Urban Indian Health, and just an update on their Wokie team and the success that they're seeing. Also, the warrant resolution court, Judge Hellman gave an update on, and that has been increasing in its successfulness, I think, and they're considering putting another one on the schedule in February, but that's to be determined. And then the last takeaway that I had was from our law enforcement that was represented there. The group had sent them to the PARI conference, which is the Police Assisted Addiction and Recovery Initiative. And just one of the things that I thought was pretty great about our sheriff's office, Officer Sitzka said that, I think he'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 50 to 70% of our sheriff's office have gone through voluntary crisis response training, which just gives them better skills when they're out in the field. So I thought that was a pretty great statistic.
Mr. Chair, we had planning and zoning last night. We had a joint meeting with the City of Sioux Falls Planning, where we had a couple test cases of our new short-term rental ordinance. So we had one application that was denied and one that was approved. So we'll see if either of those are appealed or how they're kind of test cases as we kind of measure what is acceptable in given communities. Again, that's a conditional use process, anything outside of city limits. So we're working through that, but I think that we'll have more applications for that in the future and continue to take it on a case-by-case basis. But otherwise, we had a couple issues that ran fairly late last night, so we were going to start talking about the density zoning aspect of our comprehensive plan, but we deferred that to next month. That's going to be a major topic, and we just had a little bit of discussion that I kind of relayed with Lynn Keller-Forbes of how do we engage the community and get public feedback on those issues to, over the course of this year, get some engagement and some stakeholder input on things like building eligibilities. And in the rural areas, this board has had many applications, people wanting exceptions to the rule to put in rural housing developments. And as Lynn said, there's a demand for housing, but I think we need to keep the cart and the horse in the right order and build it in our comprehensive plan first and have a plan for it rather than approving one-off developments. So quite a bit of movement in the planning and zoning area, but still at the beginning of the year and beginning of the process. That's all I had.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any others? All righty. I guess the only thing, this morning I had two brief meetings, one with the Director of Equalization. He let me know that next year's tax notices will be going out, I guess for last year will be going out February 15th. They're ahead of schedule. The average is 9% assessed property valuation. So if yours goes up 9% or less, you're probably not going to see a lot of impact to your taxes. If it's more than 9% is when you probably will see yourself equalized more with your neighbors is most likely what happened. The other one was with the public defender, met with her briefly, talked to Tracy. We visited a little bit about yesterday's news from the South Dakota Attorney General regarding the positions and funding for the Sheriff's Office and our state's attorney for domestic violence and abuse and prosecutions. She told me kind of what I was thinking yesterday when I heard the notice. You add something to one side of the scale, you probably got to add something to the other side because it's probably going to have an impact. If you're prosecuting more, you're going to be defending more. So just kind of something, a heads up and something to think about. You know, I'm fully supportive of the action by our Attorney General, but you know, there's always that equal and opposite reaction, or typically, if you understand the laws of physics anyway. So that's what I have. Anybody else have anything? All right. Non-action commission discussion. Not Seeing any, do we have an exec session? Okay, we do have an executive session immediately following the commission meeting for the purpose of South Dakota Codified Law 125-2, 1, 3, 4, and 6. So I would look for a motion to enter executive session, and we'll do that here at about 10:10, and it'll be in the room next door. Yep, okay.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same time. Motion carries.